Lingamfelter. You have two bills. You want to take up your duck line bill first, or what average?
Well, it's pretty straight.
Okay, let's do that, and then we can just have one bill. And I know you have some very patient people here that have been here to hear this bill. So let's do your duck line, and then we will.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, essentially what the bill does is basically clarifies and establishes the time period for the person to obtain a stationary line for use during the hunting season. If you are carrying who had not previously licensed a line, your time is 1 February to 15 June. If you were carrying that had a previously established line, you're from 1 February to 15 August. And if you're a non-riparian with a previously established line, your period is 1 July through 15 August. And if you haven't got a line off, never did anything, your period is wide open from 1 September to 15 October. The reason that we're doing this, Mr. Chairman, is to clarify these windows, because in the current law it's a little fuzzy. Last year I tried to figure this out on my own. I couldn't figure it out. So I went to DGIF and I asked them to figure it out. So they figured it out, and that's the bill.
Okay. Is there anyone here in opposition to this bill? Is that Lingamfelter is an expert in things like this? Yes, Mr. Christian?
I got a pretty long email from my local Isaac Walton leader on this, and the concern that they have is the overlapping time frame between riparians and non-riparians. Could you speak to that at all, John?
Well, actually, what we have done is you mean the overlapping between a previously licensed and a previously licensed non.
Yes.
Okay, that works out okay because they're previously licensed lines, so they're not in contest with each other. So that overlapping is really not a problem.
Okay, further question.
Because you actually had the line the year before, so you had first right of refusal.
Is there a situation, Scott, where a non-riparian could reserve a line and then suddenly someone could step in and take that line and you lose the permit fee?
If the non-riparian under this bill had the license the year before, he would have first right of refusal.
Okay. And if he reserves it, then it's his.
It's his. He has to pay the license, but
once he's paid it, he's
right, and then he's got to tag it and do everything else he's supposed to.
All right.
Okay. No one here in opposition. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion properly supported that House Bill 1825 be reported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill is reported.
Here, Mr. Chairman, next bill is 1430. Just a simple little bill. I think we can dispense with it fairly quickly.
Okay. No, let me cover on that stuff. The last time we had so many people involved here for local government. Let me go on.
I think we can manage it. We've got a bunch of people here.
15 minutes each side, is that good?
That's fine. We'll shoot for that. Mr. Chairman, I've got 5 folks who will be very long.
Okay.
I will limit my side to be plus these 5 people. We'll be very brief.
Okay.
Make your case, and then I'll go.
Be fine. Go ahead and make your
Mr.
presentation.
Chairman, what I'd like to do is take the committee through the bill first. There are 3 line amendments. One line amendment deals with the zoning issue, just for clarity. A second line amendment is what I call the non-Walmart amendment. And I'll explain that to you here in a minute. The last piece deals with a reenactment clause versus a delayed enactment clause. Mr. Chairman, the situation.
All right,
I want to explain the bill first and then do the amendments, or would you like to do the amendments?
There are 4 of them are technical and 1 is substantive. If I gather correctly.
There's 3, is that right, Council? 3.
3. Well, 2 are technical, and the deletion of reenactment clause that was done. All right.
Mr. Chairman, let me take you through it. It'll be pretty easy.
Okay. Go ahead and make your presentation, then we'll address the amendments.
Mr. Chairman, this bill does not change the policy of right farming. What it does do is bring some clarity to it. In Fauquier County and some other locations around the state, quite frankly, we've had some difficulty with the way ordinances have been written that prescribe and restrict the ability of a farmer, a small farmer, to conduct their business. And so what the bill does, as it's before you today, is brings clearer definitions of what we mean by agricultural operation. You can see that italicized language in the bill in front of you. running from lines 16 through the end of line 20. And essentially what it says is that, look, if you're growing stuff, you can sell the byproducts that you're growing from your family house. And that's the simple truth of the matter. And that includes food and beverages, and if you're growing trees, and you're making wood, and you're making furniture out of the wood from the trees that you grow, you can sell that too. And so that's pretty straightforward. What we want to add as an amendment, and this will be amendment number 1, is the language you see in amendment number 1, where we say that the operation is fine as long as it constitutes less than a majority amount of the production of sales and less than a majority of annual revenues from such sales. And what this ministers to is the concern that these small farms are going to turn into Home Depot or Walmart, which is not the intent. Nobody wants to do that. We actually had this language in the bill on the House side, fell out, and it shouldn't have fallen. And so that's one amendment that's in front of you. If you continue further down into the rebuttable presumption, what we have done, and this is new, is we have created a rebuttable presumption that if you are a small farmer and you are doing your small farming thing, that it is presumed that you're correct. And if someone comes along and says, no, you're not doing the right thing, the burden is on them at that point to demonstrate that. And so we think that this is actually a good improvement to the policy because it weighs in on the side of the small farmer. And I would point out, Mr. Chairman, that amendment number 2 goes to the issue of, if you look on line 25 after the word zoned, you would strike agriculture and insert for agricultural use. And the reason we need to put that language in is, lo and behold, we've discovered there are about 2 counties in Virginia that do not use zoning. One of them is Floyd County, and then there's another county that skip my mind who it is. But they don't use zoning. And so you have to put this language in order to make sure it's very clear that we're talking about agricultural use. The last amendment, Mr. Chairman, which would be amendment 3, would be to replace the reenactment clause with a delayed enactment. We feel like the delayed enactment is very satisfactory. It gives everybody enough time, 6 months, to get their ordinances in line so nobody has to flop around on the 1st of July and just jump straight up in the air. We think these are reasonable amendments to the bill. We're asking you to adopt these amendments, and then we can have a discussion on the merits of the bill and have some people testify.
All right. The chair would observe that it's debatable, but I believe the first 2 amendments would be viewed as standalone amendments that are intended to improve the bill. The third amendment, in the chair's opinion, is that touches the heart of whether he supports the bill or not. In terms of whether he supports that, I think we would want to. The chair would entertain a motion on the first 2 amendments if y'all want to do that now. Okay, motion properly supported. Amendments number 1 and amendment number 2 be adopted. The second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it would be my observation that it probably would be better for us to hear testimony before we deal with the reenactment clause.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the following people to come forward to do testimony. Mark Fitzgibbons, Lynn Holloway, Gillen Holloway. I think the Farm and Consumer Legal Defense Fund is here, and Martha Vanetta, whose farm is at context, and I would ask them to address the committee.
All right. Thank you.